Sadness is not an enemy. It is a quiet visitor that enters our hearts when something dear changes or leaves. Many people try to close the door when it comes. They fill their days with noise, work, or entertainment, hoping that sadness will go away. But sadness is patient. It waits, soft and still, until we are ready to listen. When we stop running from it, we can begin to see its gentle nature. Sadness is not there to harm us. It comes to remind us of what we have loved, of what once mattered deeply. It shows us the depth of our capacity to care. If we never felt sadness, we might never truly understand love or connection. In moments of sadness, the world becomes quieter. Time slows down. We begin to notice small things again. The sound of rain on the window, the warmth of a cup in our hands, the softness of light at sunset. These simple moments are where healing begins. Sadness teaches humility. It opens our hearts to others who are suffering. When we have known sorrow, we become gentler toward the world. We stop pretending that life must always be happy to be meaningful. We learn that peace can exist even in the presence of tears. So when sadness visits, do not turn it away. Offer it a seat. Let it speak softly, and you may find that it carries a quiet wisdom, a reminder that you are alive, that your heart is open, and that even in pain there is still beauty. Sometimes sadness arrives, like a soft hand that presses gently on our shoulders, asking us to slow down. Life moves so quickly. We chase goals, fill our schedules, and try to keep up with everything around us. But when sadness enters, it quietly changes the rhythm. The world feels heavier, slower, quieter. At first, this can feel uncomfortable. We may want to hurry through it, to return to our usual speed. Yet this slowing down is not a punishment. It is a form of care. When life slows, we are given a chance to rest, to breathe, to see what we have been missing while rushing. In this slower space, small things begin to speak to us. A tree outside the window stands silently, but its stillness reminds us of strength. The sound of a distant bell, the way the air moves through a room, these small details become companions. They invite us to be present in ways we forget when we are busy. Sadness gives us this pause. It clears a quiet space where we can simply exist without needing to perform, explain, or succeed. Sometimes, the most healing thing we can do is to stop moving and allow the world to hold us for a while. When life slows down, we may feel lost at first, but slowly we begin to notice that we are not falling apart. We are returning to a softer rhythm, a more honest pace. In this stillness, something tender begins to grow, a sense that we can live gently, even through pain. There are days when sadness feels like rain falling inside the heart. We try to stop it, but the more we resist, the harder it pours. The sky of our mind becomes heavy, and the world seems grey. Yet, just as real rain nourishes the earth, this inner rain can also bring new life, if we allow it to fall. Many people think they must fix sadness, as if it were a mistake. But emotions are not problems to solve. They are natural movements of the heart. When we allow ourselves to feel, without judgment, something begins to soften. The tightness in our chest eases a little. Our breath becomes deeper. Slowly, we begin to see that the rain was never our enemy. It was cleansing the dust we had carried for too long. Sometimes tears come, quietly or suddenly. Let them come. They are part of that rain. They wash the corners of the soul that words cannot reach. Afterward, there is often a small sense of relief, like the smell of the earth after a storm. Accepting the rain within does not mean we enjoy our sadness. It means we stop fighting what is already here. We give it space to exist. In that space, we begin to understand that sadness and peace can live together. The rain may fall, but it does not destroy the sky. The heart may ache, but it still holds light. When we let the rain come and go naturally, we begin to live more honestly, with ourselves, with others, and with life itself. When sadness fills us, it can feel loud inside. Thoughts move quickly. Memories appear one after another, pulling our attention in many directions. The mind becomes crowded, like a room filled with echoes. But beneath all this movement, there is something that never changes, a quiet space that has been with us all along. This silence is not the absence of feeling. It is the ground beneath it. Just as the ocean remains still below the waves, this silence stays calm beneath every emotion. When we touch it, even for a moment, we feel a kind of rest that nothing else can offer. Many people try to reach peace by pushing away their emotions. But peace is not found by escaping. It is found by sinking gently below the surface, by noticing the stillness that holds everything, even our pain. That silence does not reject anything. It welcomes joy and sorrow alike. Sometimes you may feel this silence in simple moments, when you sit alone at night and the world is quiet, or when the wind passes through the trees and you pause without thinking. In those moments, you are touching something timeless. When we rest in this inner silence, sadness loses its sharp edges. It becomes softer, more transparent. We realize that feelings come and go, but this silence remains. It is the space that carries us through every storm. To remember this silence is to remember who we truly are, not our emotions, not our stories, but the vast stillness that can hold them all. Pain often arrives uninvited. It may come through loss, disappointment, or the quiet loneliness that sometimes fills a room. Our first reaction is usually to protect ourselves, to close the heart, to harden, to hide. Yet when we harden, we lose something precious, our natural softness, the gentle way we can feel and connect. It may sound strange, but pain has the power to make us softer. When we stop resisting it, we begin to notice what lies inside it. Beneath the sharpness of pain, there is tenderness. It is the part of us that still cares, that still hopes, that still loves. Pain shows us that our hearts are alive. When we allow ourselves to feel gently, pain becomes less like a wound and more like an opening. It teaches us to move through the world with more care. We start to see the quiet suffering in others, the tired eyes of a stranger, the silence of someone holding back tears, and something in us responds naturally with warmth. This softness is not weakness. It is strength without aggression, courage without noise. It is the strength to stay open even when it hurts. In that openness, healing begins. Over time, we may notice that pain does not simply fade, it transforms. What once felt heavy becomes lighter, like a stone turned into water. And as we move forward, we carry with us not just the memory of pain, but the wisdom it gave us, that being soft is not fragile, it is deeply human. When sadness feels heavy, we often look for a way out. Some people turn to distractions, others to constant activity. We may tell ourselves, if I stay busy, I won't have to feel this. But peace does not grow from running away. It grows from being present, even in discomfort. True peace is not about creating a perfect life where nothing hurts. It is about finding calm in the middle of what is. Even when the heart aches, there can be a quiet strength that holds us. It is gentle, not forced. It does not depend on what happens around us. Sometimes people think peace means silence, empty of emotion. But real peace is alive. It breathes with everything that exists, the laughter, the sorrow, the noise of daily life. We can live inside this peace without escaping reality. It does not require us to shut the door on pain. It simply allows us to live beside it. When we stop fighting what we feel, something changes. The same world that once felt harsh begins to soften. The same sadness that once felt unbearable begins to speak more quietly. We start to sense that life is holding us, even when it feels difficult. To find peace without escaping is to trust that life can contain both joy and sorrow, both movement and rest. It is to know that we don't need to hide from pain in order to live fully. We only need to stay open, and peace will find its own way to us. When sadness lingers, it is easy to turn against ourselves. We might think, "I should be stronger," or "Why can't I move on?" These thoughts add weight to the heart that is already heavy. We judge our pain instead of caring for it. But what if, instead of judgment, we offered kindness? To see yourself with kind eyes means to look at your sadness the way you would look at a dear friend who is suffering. You would not tell them to hurry or to be stronger. You would simply stay close, offer warmth, and let them rest. You can give yourself the same gentle care. When you look in the mirror, you may see tired eyes, a face touched by worry or age. Try to see beyond those signs. Behind them lives a person who has carried much, who has tried again and again to love, to work, to understand. That person deserves kindness, not criticism. Kindness toward yourself does not erase pain, but it softens it. It reminds you that you are not broken. You are human. Every scar, every tear, every quiet moment of endurance tells the story of a life that keeps choosing to live. If you can meet your sadness with tenderness, it begins to change shape. It becomes less like a storm and more like a gentle rain. You may even begin to feel gratitude for your own heart, for its courage to feel deeply and keep going. Seeing yourself with kind eyes is not vanity. It is the beginning of healing, the moment you realize that the one who suffers also deserves love. Tears come and go like small waves on the shore. Sometimes they rise suddenly without warning. Other times they stay hidden behind the eyes, waiting quietly. When we cry, we often think something is wrong, that we are falling apart. But tears are not a sign of weakness. They are the body's way of releasing what words cannot carry. And between those tears, there is space, a soft, silent moment that appears after the crying stops. In that space, the heart feels lighter, even if the sadness has not fully left. It is like the air after rain, clear, still, and full of quiet life. This space between tears is where we can rest. We don't need to think or explain. We can simply breathe. It is a pause that allows healing to begin without effort. Life moves gently again, in its own rhythm, like a small bird returning to the sky after a storm. Sometimes, people try to control when they cry, or feel ashamed afterward. But tears are natural. They belong to everyone. If you let them flow freely, you create room inside yourself for peace to return. When you notice that space, the calm after crying, stay with it for a moment. Don't rush away. Feel how your body softens, how your breath becomes slow and easy. This is not the end of sadness, but a reminder that even in pain, peace still visits. The space between tears teaches us that healing is not dramatic. It happens quietly, in small breaths, in soft pauses, in the silent kindness that follows each tear. After deep sadness, there often comes a quiet stillness. It is not joy, and it is not emptiness. It is something softer, a calm that feels new but familiar, like the air that settles after heavy rain. The storm of emotion has passed, and what remains is silence, fragile yet peaceful. In this stillness, everything feels slower. You may sit without needing to do anything. The world seems to breathe again. You notice the light moving across the floor, the sound of distant voices, the way your own breath rises and falls. These small things become precious. They remind you that life continues, gently and faithfully. Stillness after sadness is not about forgetting. It is about remembering differently. The pain is still there, but it no longer rules you. It becomes part of the background, like the echo of a wave that has already reached the shore. You begin to feel space again, space to move, to see beauty, to smile without forcing it. Sometimes this stillness feels strange, even uncomfortable. We are so used to motion and noise that quiet can seem unfamiliar, but if you stay with it, you will find that stillness holds a deep kindness. It asks for nothing. It simply lets you rest. In this quiet time, the heart begins to trust life again. You may not notice it at first, but something inside starts to grow. A small strength, gentle and steady, born from everything you have felt and survived. The stillness after the storm is not the end of sadness. It is the beginning of peace. When we go through sadness, the heart becomes tender. It feels fragile, like glass that could break with one more touch. In these moments, we often try to protect ourselves by hiding our feelings or pretending to be fine. But healing begins not by hardening the heart, but by learning to hold it gently. To hold your heart gently means to care for yourself the way you would hold something delicate and precious. You do not grip it tightly, nor do you throw it away. You simply cradle it with patience and warmth. It is an act of quiet respect for your own humanity. There will be days when your heart feels too heavy to carry. On those days, do less. Speak softly to yourself. Rest if you need to. The world will wait. Strength is not in pushing harder, but in knowing when to pause and breathe. When you hold your heart gently, you begin to notice how it slowly starts to heal on its own. Like a wound that closes in silence, it doesn't need to be forced. It only needs kindness and time. The heart knows how to return to balance if we stop hurting it with judgment and impatience. Each moment of care becomes a quiet promise that you will not abandon yourself, even when life feels difficult. You are learning to be your own safe place, your own shelter in the rain. Holding your heart gently is not selfish. It is the beginning of true compassion, the kind that allows you to offer peace to others because you have learned to give it first to yourself. Sorrow has a way of changing how we see the world. When life feels easy, we often move quickly, without noticing the deeper layers beneath our experiences. But sorrow slows us down. It opens a doorway into understanding that could not exist without loss. Within its quiet ache, there is a kind of wisdom, soft, unspoken, and deeply human. This wisdom does not come from books or teachers. It grows naturally in the heart that has suffered and continued to care. It teaches us what truly matters, how brief life is, how fragile love can be, and how precious every moment becomes when we stop taking it for granted. Through sorrow, we begin to see that everything changes. People come and go. Joy rises and fades. Even our strongest emotions pass, like clouds moving across the sky. When we understand this, we hold life more gently. We stop clinging so tightly, and in that release, peace begins to appear. Sorrow also teaches humility. It reminds us that we are not separate from others. Every person we meet carries their own invisible story of loss. Knowing this, we walk through the world with quieter steps. We listen more, we judge less, we love with fewer conditions. The wisdom hidden in sorrow is not about becoming cold or distant. It is about seeing clearly, feeling deeply, and living truthfully. It is the kind of understanding that makes us softer, not harder, wiser, yet still open. When we look back someday, we may realize that sorrow was not just a season of pain. It was a teacher that led us closer to what is real and to the quiet beauty of simply being alive. After deep sadness, life slowly begins to return to balance. It does not happen all at once. There is no clear day when everything feels right again. Healing is gentle, almost invisible. One morning, you may notice that the air feels lighter, or that you can smile without effort. These are small signs that balance is returning. Balance does not mean that sorrow disappears. It means that sadness finds its place among the other feelings of life. It is no longer the whole story, but just one voice in the larger song of being human. There is space again for laughter, for curiosity, for quiet joy. When we return to balance, we begin to live with more honesty. We no longer expect life to be only bright or easy. We understand that calm and storm, joy and grief, are both parts of the same whole. This understanding brings freedom. We stop chasing happiness as if it were something to possess. Instead, we begin to live with a steady heart, able to meet whatever comes. Sometimes balance means doing nothing special, just walking, breathing, preparing a meal, or watching the sky change color. These simple acts are not small. They are the rhythm of a peaceful life. Returning to balance is not about becoming someone new. It is about coming home to yourself after being lost in the waves. It is remembering that even in sorrow, you never truly disappeared. You were always here, quietly waiting to be whole again. And when that balance returns, even gently, it carries a quiet gratitude. The awareness that every moment, even the difficult ones, has helped you come back to this still and steady heart. There comes a moment, often long after the storm has passed, when we can look back on our sadness with gentle eyes. We remember the nights that felt endless, the days when even breathing seemed heavy. And yet through it all, we kept moving, kept feeling, kept living. From this distance, something tender begins to grow, a quiet gratitude. This gratitude is not for the pain itself, but for what it revealed. Sadness showed us how deeply we can love, how much our hearts can hold. It stripped away the noise and left only what mattered most: connection, sincerity, the fragile beauty of being alive. Without sadness, we might never notice how precious each ordinary moment truly is. We learn that sadness has its own kind of grace. It humbles us, softens us, and reminds us that every person carries their own invisible struggles. It makes us kinder, slower to judge, quicker to listen. In this way, sadness becomes a bridge, a quiet thread that connects us all. Gratitude for sadness does not mean we wish for it. It means we recognize it as part of life's truth. Just as the earth needs both sun and rain, the heart needs both joy and sorrow to stay alive and real. When we can thank sadness, even silently, we free ourselves. We stop seeing life as something to control and begin to see it as something to honor. Every feeling, even the painful ones, becomes part of a greater harmony, the song of being fully human. So let your gratitude be quiet, like the last light of evening. It does not need to be spoken. It only needs to be felt. As we come to the end of this reflection, I want to pause for a moment with you, in quiet. Sadness, as we have seen, is not something to escape, but something to walk with gently. Through its soft lessons, we begin to understand life more deeply, and perhaps ourselves more kindly. If you have listened this far, it means you have walked together with me through the landscape of sorrow and healing. I hope that something here has touched your heart, or given you a small moment of rest in a busy day. Even a few breaths of calm can make a difference. Life will continue to bring both light and shadow. But when sadness returns, and it will in its time, perhaps you will remember that it carries no punishment. It comes as a teacher, reminding us that we are alive, connected, and capable of love. And even when the heart aches, there is always beauty quietly waiting beneath the pain. Before we part, I wish to express my deep gratitude to you for your presence, for your time, and for the kindness you bring to this space. Your thoughtful comments, your generous support through likes, memberships, and super thanks All of these gestures sustain the sharing of these quiet teachings. They remind me that what begins in one small voice can still reach and comfort others across the world. Thank you for being here, for listening with an open heart, and for walking this path of reflection together. Wherever you are, may peace find you gently, and may your heart remain soft, even in the face of life's many changes.